Hello, Rosi Orozco. I am proud and honored, friends, to welcome today my dear friend, colleague, and the most incredible human rights activist I know, Rosi Orozco. Welcome, Rosi. How are you?
Thank you, Lynn. It's such an honor to talk to you. And this is a big team in Mexico, and now we are doing also a unity that will make us advance more faster with you.
Let me explain to everybody what we're doing. We have
Okay?
formed an alliance here
Mhm.
in the United States along with you and Alma Tucker in
Mhm.
Mexico because we believe as mothers, grandmothers, human beings, we cannot accept anymore what has been going on and the increase in human trafficking and the laws that are necessary and are not being addressed. So, my dear colleague Blanquita Cullum, a couple of months back, we looked at each other and said, no more, no more. And I said, we have to do something. We're smart. There you are. I said, we're smart. We know too many people. How can we get out there, real women doing real work? And we were introduced to you, and you are doing incredible work in Mexico, but also branching with us here in the United States because we believe we cannot begin to attack this horrible plight of trafficking unless we work together, Mexico and the United States, hand in hand,
Completely. Yeah.
because it is such a horrifying, overwhelming issue that is only getting worse. So we have formed this alliance, and we'll talk about that a little more down the road. But I want people to understand the incredible who you are and the incredible work you're doing. Start with how you got involved. Give us an idea how this all started for you.
Okay, I had a very comfortable life 2005 when I was invited to Washington, and I came to DC to be in a program that was called the Bridge Project. It was Concerned Women for America who invited us with the Department of Justice, and then I knew a little bit about slavery, but nothing about human trafficking. And it is really modern slavery. When I learned about my own country, how was this problem growing, this crime, kidnapping a lot of girls or boys who are vulnerable, but 85% are women and girls. So I learned how one girl, for example, they showed me a documentary about one of these girls who was captured by the human trafficking rings, and then she ended her life after she escaped. She killed herself, and that broke my heart completely because every life is so valuable, and I never ever imagined the pain and the suffering.
Right.
I come from a family that I had everything in life and a lot of love and an incredible husband like yours. And
Yes, we have
that
incredible
is
husbands. Yes.
yes, that is what we have in common that allow us to do more than other women can do because we have had love, we have had opportunities, and also now we have a partner that are our husbands that stands behind
Yes.
us to help us. So I think this was the first day that I learned about human trafficking. I cried for many time, and then I decided I could not go to sleep without advancing against this human trafficking. Since 2005, every time that I go to bed, the only thing that I am sure is that I did something to advance against this crime. I cannot I cannot solve it, but every day,
Right.
from Monday to Sunday, I do something. I a lot of things, and that's what I was in Congress to be
Yeah, that was
sure
my
that the
next. I
law
wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about you getting into Congress because let's backtrack a bit. I fell into all of this because I was working with a client who wrote a book about domestic violence, and I was handling her PR. And in doing my research, it touched also upon human trafficking, which we've known about, I've known about, but not really to the extent. And I became, like you, overwhelmed. What can I do? I've had a very good life. I'm blessed. I have a support team. These poor people can't. And I get very upset when people say, oh, they should just leave, or oh, why they're stupid. Oh, and they do not understand this is also a mental issue. You're worn down, beaten down mentally. You can't do anything but try to survive and exist. You can't think. So I had to step up and do something. So
Yes.
your story, I'm learning from you every day. And we realize we're not going to eradicate human trafficking, but we are going to put a very big dent into it. And we're going to make a difference, and we're going to raise awareness and teach people and get it out there in front of everybody. So I was fascinated. Then all of a sudden, let me start with Mexico. I only know, Rosi, what I read here, what I hear here. One of my first questions to you in conversation when I met you, how do you do this with Mexico? Because all I hear and read about cartels and crime, and I thought, my goodness, how is this woman able to pull all of this off and create safe homes and houses and keep these people, especially the children? You're really working with a lot of children. Explain to me first, before we talk about your being a member of Congress, truly, how are you able with Mexico to do all of this?
Well, by the grace of God, of course, but I always pray to be guided to find the right people. And there is so many that are linked to this crime, right, but also so many that are also sensitive. So in each government, in each party, I look for the right people. When I find somebody, like here in Mexico, the Secretary of State, Olga Sanchez Cordero, and the Undersecretary now, Alejandro Encinas, was also with me in the Congress, and they really have a heart to end human trafficking. So then I found the one who is in the finances intelligent, the one who follows the money, Santiago Nieto, who will give his heart and life for ending human trafficking. So that's the right people. So if we find the partners, the people that are sensitive, the people that cares, you go hand by hand, from NGO, the social work, and then the politic work, and we can advance like that. There is no many, in every government. Now that I have been with so many parties, I can tell you, this is not about a party. This is about the heart of those authorities. And
yes,
even if you just work with one state, like here in Mexico, I work very well with the state of Mexico. The American embassy knows that that's now the state that is doing the best work. So if you have one state, this state has 16 million people. So if I have one door closed, then I go to another door, like those ants, the ants do the same.
Yes,
when
I
they
love that.
find something blocked, they go around.
Yes.
And that's what I do every day.
That's why we get along, I think, because I always say to dear Blanquita, when one door closes or they put the brick wall up in front of us, we just don't even listen. We keep going forward. We just punch it down, kick it down. there's always somebody else. And I agree.
Exactly.
You know, there's a lot of negativity on both sides, whether it's Mexico or the US.
Uh-huh.
But there's also, every day as I'm working in this, meeting new people. How can I be involved? What can I do?
Yes.
Tell me about Congress, because this fascinates me. I read,
Well,
now I want you to talk about it because I don't believe everything I read. I have to hear it directly from you. That you didn't really try to run for Congress, that you were sort of nominated or put on a ballot. Explain to everybody how you ended up in Congress.
well, at the beginning, it was impossible to win in that area. You know, I went for a party that was completely dead in that part of Mexico City. So I thought I will spend the money in prevention. So my campaign was, you know, what I was thinking, you know, it's a waste of money to say Rosi is so nice and she can do whatever. So I made these brochures to tell the people how to take care of their children about human trafficking.
Resources, right.
Yeah, the resources I was spending in prevention. And of course, I was saying that I was running for Congress. And if I win, I was going to work for a law against human trafficking. So it was incredible. It was like a miracle because I had everything in opposition and I won. And then
Incredible, yeah.
It was incredible. And the first day in Congress, I gave to we were 500 Congress people, and I gave to each one of them the video that is called Human Trafficking, Mira Sorvino's video. And I told them in a letter the importance of fulfilling to have this new law that will really be to fight human trafficking in Mexico, to punish, to prevent, and also to protect the victims. So since day one, everybody knew that I was the one who was going to fight. And then 6 months later, my first goal was to have a commission, a special commission against human trafficking. And I did it.
Unbelievable.
All my friends from Congress helped me vote for it. And we got the first commission against human trafficking. So since then I haven't...
Full speed ahead for you. Full speed ahead. This is why I honor you, Rosi, every single day and want to be more like you. You are my role model for what I'm working on. So now you were done with Congress in about 2012, and you made a commitment that you will continue your activist work on behalf of trafficking. Something I want to hear then how you transitioned out of Congress to continue. But what I have heard repeatedly in the United States from people, I can't believe that happens in our country, meaning the United States. I thought it always happened there, meaning Mexico, Guatemala, all the other countries. So I feel like my job is constantly bring up every single day, every moment I can, human trafficking, brainwash people, spread awareness. So now let's talk about, you get out of Congress. I know you formed your first safe house. Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
When was that?
Yeah. 2007. That's why I wanted to be in Congress, because when we opened the first shelter or the first safe house, we were going to the general attorney, and it was terrible. It was devastating for the victims because they were the ones who had to prove everything. The law was so wrong, and all the burden of the proof was over the victims, and it was a re-victimation. They had to say, yeah, this guy deceived me, and they felt so stupid because the prosecutors were so mean to them. They were saying, oh, you like it. Don't lie to me. And it was
Horrible.
terrible for
That's
them. It
that's
was
extra
oh
abuse on top of abuse,
oh yeah. It was terrible. So
Yes.
that's one thing that our law has, that it's very protective to the victims, and it's very we have some penalties that you don't need in your country because it's not as bad as here. For example, if the organized crime kidnap a boy and teach him how to shoot and kill people, sometimes 12 years old, 13 years old, they will be slaves for the organized crime. Or girls that I have met that were forced to prostitution, but plus of that, they will be, sometimes in the vagina taking drugs to another state,
Right.
transporting the drugs.
Yes.
So those things also are punished in our law. Or, of course, the organ trafficking. But we had a very important law that punish all type of crimes that we have in Mexico. Because also, for example, in the agriculture fields, we have people that are worse than before the revolution,
Right.
worse than you had with the people of color,
Right.
colored people in your country. It is really like
Yes.
slaves, and only 9% of them has a contract. Only 9% will sign papers for being hired in agriculture fields. So,
Unbelievable. I mean,
yeah.
let's talk about explain. Let's explain. Let's get very basic. Human trafficking. Most of the time, people, when they think about it, think forced sex trafficking, but not so much in the United States. It's also other things. It's also forced labor.
Forced begging.
Would you have more, I think, than we have, but we have some of that here. It is also forced marriages.
Yes, we have.
That it is also organ
Forced begging. Forced begging.
begging. Explain that. Talk about that. Forced begging.
Well, yeah, when you have to go begging money, old people who has somebody who will force
Oh my.
him to go to the streets begging.
Wow.
And
Right.
at the end of the day, they will have to give these people the money they raise by begging in the cars, in the streets, everywhere, in the buses,
Right.
everywhere. They go begging, asking the people, please give me, or people that are thumb and thief. I had 3 girls in one of the safe house who were forced to begging and forced to prostitution because they were without hearing and speaking, the
Yes.
theft and how do you say?
They used to say deaf and dumb. I don't know what they're
Oh,
saying anymore, but they cannot speak. Mute. I think mute is
yeah,
the word.
yeah. Well,
Deaf and mute,
but
I should say. I should erase that other word, everybody. Forgive me. But that's what it used to be called. So it's any
yeah,
kind of forced action trafficking,
yeah,
forcing
yeah.
another individual. And also something child soldiers. That's another part of human trafficking.
Yes.
But people, I am amazed, still don't know what exactly human trafficking is. And I think we can both agree it is such a horrific, horrible subject that, at least here, my experience has been a lot of people don't want to discuss it because it is too hard to think about. It is too hard to digest the horror of it.
Yeah.
But unless we all do something and contribute and make this a very common phrase, human trafficking all day long, we will not be doing our jobs and we will not help to, put a dent in this. So I liked something I read that you said. I want to explain there are vast differences between what you can do in Mexico and what I could do here in the United States. But you said something that everyone on the chain, has to be punished as far as the laws go. Not just, for instance, here in the U.S., these poor, we'll use a young woman as an example, gets arrested and gets charged with prostitution here. Because the law enforcement here wants to get it out of her about the trafficker. And then this poor girl, our example, they get the information, perhaps. She's just left on her own devices here in the United States. There's no aftercare or very little aftercare. We don't have the resources. We don't have the laws in place. One of the things we're aiming here, we're going to change, and new laws. We have our work cut out for us, but I'm doing it. I mean, I refuse to let people, it's unbelievable in the year 2019, this is even allowed. This is even a discussion. So these girls then are out on their own. And again, there are young men as well and other people. I'm using a young woman as an example. But explain to the audience, my hands are tied here a lot. There's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of red tape with under the age of 18, taking children. Whereas you are able to take them. You have sent me beautiful pictures that I literally cry of seeing these, I'm talking little girls, you know, in their princess dresses with the party. So explain the differences, what you're allowed to do in Mexico that I can't do here.
Well, it's because we have decided to do it without the money of the government. That's the great difference. I have been working since 2007 without depending of government, because I hear when I go international Congress, all the countries, especially the Guatemala, Salvador, Argentina, Uruguay, everywhere, there is no money for helping the victims long term. So if I depend on government, I will not help them. So that's why since we started, I said there is so many people here in Mexico that are helping. Not enough, but up to now, since 2007, we have helped girls for almost 11 years since we started the shelter. Because, for example, Karlas Jacinto, we just captured the pimp after 11 years, Lynn.
You sent me his picture. I saw his picture. You sent me his picture.
Yes.
Yes. Another thing, you make me cry. You make me cry almost on a daily basis when you send me pictures, because you sent that picture and I'm like, 11 years. You must feel so exhilarated and so on top of the world. 11 years, a long time.
No, and imagine the situation of Karlas Jacinto. If you Google Karlas Jacinto, she's the most known survivor in the world, because her story is such a heartbreaking story. From 12 to 16 years, she was sold to more than 40,000 beasts, people who bought her. And she now, for example, I have helped her so much. Now I was thinking, I already finished. This weekend, she has been so broken and so, I had to call the psychiatric, had to call the psychologist to be in a team with her, because just for her to see this man again was completely crazy this weekend. Yeah, of course.
It would trigger her too.
All the memories, all the suffering, and all the she's so scared. She's so scared this weekend. We had a dinner with her, trying to tell her we are with you. But this weekend she couldn't even walk. She couldn't even went out of the apartment because she's with so much fear, so scared. Even though he's in jail, but she knows that this is a big ring. That he has people around that could also now try to have a revenge.
Right, because that's the problem here. When they arrest somebody for prostitution, and these people are victims, and they arrest them for prostitution, and then they let them go when law enforcement gets what they need, a trafficker. I call them pimps because they're really pimps.
They are.
They're if they arrest that pimp, there is somebody in that ring who will go after that person. So I don't even trust, we can't even trust all the stats we read, because I know this is a very underreported crime. It's a very, I read many different things like how many women to boys and men involved. We have an idea, but we don't really have a handle on what's truly going on. Now, the good news is, I try to stay in the positive with all of this. Because if you let your mind go, Rosie, I sit and cry all day. So I try to stay to the right of that and be very proactive and just keep going, And, you told me something when I saw you a few weeks ago in D.C., and I think I'm seeing you next week in D.C. I think we're coordinating, you and me. It keeps every day, and that was, we were sitting outside, and you told me you have God on your shoulder. God on your shoulder. And I keep reminding myself every day, I have God on my shoulder. When I go to the negative side and say, how can this be in the United States? How can we allow this? How come more people aren't out in the streets screaming? How come the government isn't providing more resources? So our alliance, we can't get the work done in the United States unless we form an alliance with Mexico and you to bring it forth and get it done.
Neighbors.
Because we are neighbors. There's a lot happening with our border, a lot of trafficking on the border.
Yes.
I don't hear anybody in this country talking about the trafficking on our border. A lot's going on there. Very frightening and scary. I don't know why people aren't screaming in the streets that it's unacceptable. So we have that. But tell me about, I'm going to switch to something positive now. Tell me about you do have a charity, United versus Trafficking. Now tell me about that.
We started 2007 with a safe house. I'm still helping that safe house, but when we came out of the Congress, I saw the need was so much bigger. Because if you don't have shelters everywhere, how do you advance against human trafficking?
You can't.
If you cannot protect the girls or boys. We opened the first shelter in America for boys. Before United States opened, North Carolina and Florida opened already safe house for boys. But we started before, 1 month or two before, and those 4 boys are incredible. They are from 12, well, the little one is 8, Hugo, and we have 12, 13, and 14. So we have 4, 8, 12, 13 and 14 years old. And they are doing fantastically.
Yes.
I was so scared because I had the experience with girls and I was so afraid, but they are incredible boys.
Unbelievable.
And they have so many dreams. They are doing fantastic. They are playing American football. And we just went to the movie to see Lion King, and you can see them roar like a lion now. They are very, very secure and having a lot of dreams. But the girls, we have from 6 years old, the little one who just arrived, who was every night in hotels. And the mother was the one who was the pimp.
Yes, you told me about that.
It's so sad. It's so sad.
Yes, that the familial trafficking, at least I read and hear 50% of the trafficking is done by family members. You can speak about that. I mean, that is beyond sad that the mother, you told me this story, go ahead, about this little girl in hotels.
And then, we have also people who is having a lot of success, like Nelly. Nelly has finished university. She's an administrator. And then she's doing her MBA. She's studying English. She has her own apartment. And also she has a YouTube channel that is called Cocina con Nelly, Cook with Nelly.
Oh,
so
beautiful.
She is beautiful. And let me tell you, when she, July 24, she finished she came out of the human trafficking. She was rescued 9 years ago. July 24, and she said, now that it's my anniversary of being rescued, I want to go to the place where I was rescued because there are still girls and I want to take a present. So she took some present who had the telephone. The present had this number where they can call, and she risked her life. Of course, I asked some
That's
friends
unbelievable. Yeah.
to help me with the bodyguards, and 3 of the girls who were rescued in that area went back. Carla Jacinto, Patty Gonzalez, Doranelli. The 3 of them went back to the place where they were rescued. Of course, we went with them, a lot of people who were protecting them, but it broke my heart, because there is so many still, and we saw young girls as young as 6, 7, 8 years in that area. So we were so broken when we came back, because we knew that this is bigger than we can handle. But it's what we were talking, Lynn. You and me can every day do our best, go to bed knowing that we did our best, and we advance. Every day we have to do something that we advance, and also contagious more people to do it. And we will, here in Mexico, we are working together, almost 100 NGOs together. We work together at the shelters. Now we are building a network of shelters, and that's the way we can advance, if we do our best and every day advance and do more networking, and now international, because we are, some of our girls from Mexico will end in the United States being sold as merchandise, as human merchandise. Exactly. And you can do something for our Mexicans, and we can together do more. I think next time we have to talk about the punishment to the demand. We have to talk about how you and me, we can do more for advancing in the punishment.
The mentality. Okay, here, see, this is very different. What you're doing in Mexico is what we want to do here, Blanquita and I. Right now, this whole thing in trafficking in the U.S. is in an infancy. Yes, there are lots of organizations, a lot of people talking about it. Do you know, in my just talking to people, and a lot of them told me they never even met a survivor or a victim of trafficking, and they're working on and they're working in the trafficking. I don't want to call it a business, but let's face it, it is a business. And I'm astounded they've never spoken to one. They've never heard one give a speech. That's a problem I have. That's this country. Also, we don't have resources, safe houses. There are some underground sort of things, but again, a lot of talk here, a lot of organizations that they raise money, frankly, it all goes into their administration costs, not into the problem. Let's be honest about that. And I want to change that with Blanquita and you and our upcoming alliance that we're working on. Because unless we change, also in the United States, unless we change the mindset about this trafficking, unless we change the laws, unless we change our country, the United States, I am ashamed to say, we're the biggest procurers of buying people. It's a business with a dollar sign attached. Wouldn't you agree? Because drugs, of course, number one. I would say this rivals the drug business, to sell a person over and over again. And, it's funny. I had a conversation last night with somebody. He was claiming on a television show, or it was his opinion, I should say, that the reason we have so much trafficking is because of pornography. Well, I think pornography plays a very big role into everything with the mindset. But I also think it's very simple. There is a dollar sign attached. And when people can make money, 9 out of 10 are going to go for making that dollar, you know? So unless we change this mindset, and also I'm not able right now to do what you're doing. I'll be accused of kidnapping even if I found a 6-year-old girl next door and I know she's being abused, I take her in my home. The law stands now. I get in trouble. I get accused. That is something that I'm working very hard with. The great Congressman Pete Olson from Texas is the first one who stepped up to the plate. So although there's so much red tape, we both know, with government, Congress, for me it's a catalyst to at least raise awareness, get it all going type of thing. Because when I think about how they hold everything up and what we can do on our own with private donations or just on our own, but people have to understand, for me at least, I have to start with Congress and get an approval, a validation, you know? So as it stands now, we will know any moment our Alliance Raising Awareness event is going to be mid-November. And our Congress here they go on a 5-week break. The people working on trafficking in Congress that I'm working with, believe it or not, are in there working. Actually, they didn't take a break, my people. Can you imagine?
Wow.
The legislative aides? I mean, that makes me cry too. Yeah, they take a day off, but they didn't fly off to Italy like a lot of people I know or other places. They're there working. So any moment I'll be able to get the press release out when it's going to be the 12th or 13th of November. We're going to hold a joint Alliance media event we're going to do it on the steps of the United States Capitol. The holdup is because everybody's on vacation, you have to follow protocol. And the protocol is our Madam Speaker, Pelosi, first you have to apply to her, may I use the steps of the Capitol? It's a protocol. Now, she may say yes, she may say no, doesn't matter. Then we use another area of the Capitol, I will be granted. But first I'm going for the main steps of the Capitol. And you were with me a few weeks ago when we met with Congressman Olson, and you saw his willingness. He was the first you've been involved, remember, Rosie, you've been involved a lot longer than I have in all of this. But he was the first person that said to my face, I want to help, I want to be involved,
He was very sensitive.
No, but that was, for me, that was my real stepping stone to finally, somebody wants to hear about it. Finally, somebody wants to do something about it. So at that time, when we do our media event, we'll also be announcing we're planning a march on Washington to bring all the groups together. Because like you said, when we first started talking, now I have everyday people reaching out to me, sending me things, sending me what I can do to help. All kinds of things. It's like a little network I'm building, you know, that I could just work on this 24/7. So knowing you and the work you've done, and I would like to share with everybody that you have been submitted to be a candidate for a Nobel Prize. I mean, that is the ultimate, and you're going to get it because you have done God's work. And
thank you.
I'm going to say again, I admire so much your bravery, your courage. I don't know how you do it, but you must have God on your shoulder. And what are your plans? Of course, we're just getting going with our alliance. We have a lot of work together to do. But what are your plans? You're just going to keep going and building and saving more people? What are you thinking about these?
Our goal is to have a safe house in each state. 32. We have only in 6 states, and that is a nightmare. Just to think a girl that escapes from this hell and then she doesn't have where to go, it's crazy. It's for me, it's something that really it's in my heart to be able to advance to 32. And I talked to the Undersecretary of Human Rights that is Alejandro Encinas, and that's what I told him. Just help me to finish this goal and to be able to advance until we have 32 shelters that we won't depend on government. We don't want the money of government because also the strength we have is that we can go and say, why are you not doing this, or why you don't do this? But we have the strength to say it,
Yes.
and we are not bought by the government.
You have the passion to get it done. Yes.
Yeah,
The
that's
passion
why
to get it done.
I was honoring so much my husband, because it's not easy. It's really sometimes, like right now, a big donor said, with the change of government, we have problems, and you know, you have to pray. You have to pray, and God will really provide always. But it's not easy. But it's the right way to do it, because that way also you will finish to help the girls. Some of the shelters in your country or my country, they would just have money for 1 year of therapies or helping the girls, and then they are by themselves, like you said. And that's
Let me
not
tell you,
human.
listen, in doing my research and talking to different groups, the aftercare is basically 90 days here in the United States. They only have enough for 90 days. And what happens?
Yeah,
These people go, what do? They're vulnerable people to start with that are usually trafficked.
Yes.
I'm every day trying to just put out on social media little things, different facts, and what parents can look for or people can look for, resources.
Yes.
I'm big about facts and resources. And it's usually vulnerable. If you aren't sold by your family, it's a vulnerable teen or a broken home teen. These traffickers are very good at looking for that vulnerable person. But what I'm being told here in the United States, we might have resources or a facility for 90 days, and then we have nothing for them. That is unbelievable in our country.
Yes.
And what do, Rosie? They return to that life. They can't get out. It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, and not because they want, but because some of the, they feel they are not valuable. They don't have, but you don't give them back their dignity.
You can't in 90 days.
You can't. So that's why we give them a university degree. We give them the tools to go out.
That's what yes.
And also not only to survive, but to be an example. Our girls are an example of reintegration, and that's what we have to do together in each side of the countries. So I will have to go, but I really, really look forward to be able to talk about how we can advance on punishing the demands. That's another of my goals, that in our countries we can advance to punish the ones who are the clients, I hate to call them Johns, because
I don't say that.
They should show the names of those people, not to hide them by the name of Johns. They have a name and a last name, and it should be in the papers.
Front page.
The predators that are looking for each day for more and more young girls. So we don't call them Johns, we call them monsters, and these people has to be the ones that are punished by a fine that will be able to give money to the shelters and to the people who are helping the girls. That's the cycle.
I agree. That is what I want to do in our country here. That is my ultimate goal, to punish those monsters that do this, and create these new laws and update any old laws on the book. Well, I want to thank you, Rosi Orozco, for joining me and taking the time. I'm going to have all of your information so people know where to find you on Twitter or Facebook, everything. And I so am honored that we've become friends and colleagues, and we're working together. And I love you madly. And thank you for your incredible work. Be safe, friend.
Thank you, Lynn.
I'll talk to you soon.
See you soon. And I'm going to send you also the information of Rescue Freedom, who is a partner in the United States that help us so much with the girls. so that you can also
Please
have
do.
that information, because they are helping us. Thank you
Please
so
do.
much, Lynn.
Thank you, Rosie. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.